Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into two words we often use interchangeably: stress and anxiety.
Right. They feel similar, definitely.
But here's the thing you need to know. Our sources reveal they're actually, well, really quite different in how your mind and body react, fundamentally distinct phenomena.
And it's crucial for you to understand this distinction. Really crucial.
Why is that?
Because, well, we often dismiss genuine anxiety symptoms as just stress, and that can delay someone getting the help they might need.
Ah, okay, so you underplay it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or, conversely, we sometimes pathologize normal, healthy stress responses, turn everyday pressure into a disorder when it isn't.
Got it. So our mission today is to kind of give you those aha moments, help clarify things so you can manage your well-being better, more proactively.
Precisely. Enhanced mental health literacy, that's the goal.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Imagine stress. Like your body's response to a specific demand, an identifiable challenge.
A stressor, something you can point to.
Like a deadline breathing down your neck, or maybe, sudden danger.
Right. It's that primal fight or flight mechanism kicking in, evolutionarily baked in.
Designed to help you handle that immediate thing, get back to stability, homeostasis.
But the key is immediate and identifiable. The body tries to deal with it and then return to calm.
Okay, but what happens when those stressors don't go away, when it's chronic?
Well, that's where the problem lies. If those stressors become chronic, that alarm system, it gets stuck in the on position.
Constantly activated.
Constantly. It prevents that return to equilibrium, that calm state. And this isn't just about feeling overwhelmed anymore.
It goes deeper.
Much deeper. We're talking fundamental biological disruption, actual long-term systemic damage across nearly all your body systems. It's serious stuff.
Wow. Okay, so that's stress, especially chronic stress. Now, let's contrast that with anxiety. How's that different?
Okay, so anxiety,
Yeah.
it's primarily an emotion. Think apprehension, tension. It's where you anticipate something bad happening.
So not a response to something happening right now.
Generally, no. Unlike fear, which is about immediate present threat, anxiety is really tied to anticipating a future concern. Danger, catastrophe, misfortune. Maybe even vague misfortune.
So stress is the fire. Anxiety is more like smelling smoke when you're not even sure there is a fire yet, or worrying the fire might start.
That's a pretty good analogy, yeah. It's about the anticipation, the what if.
But is anxiety always a bad thing then?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Normal adaptive anxiety can actually be beneficial. It's like an internal alert system.
Okay, how so?
Well, it can signal potential dangers, help you prepare, make you more vigilant. A little bit can be motivating.
Right, but there's a line.
There's a big line.
Yeah.
Anxiety disorders.
Yeah.
That's when this natural warning system goes haywire. It becomes excessive, totally out of proportion to the actual situation.
Out of proportion, and it interferes with life.
Massively.
Yeah.
It becomes age inappropriate and significantly hinders your ability to just, function normally day to day.
So that's the paradox you mentioned earlier. Mild anxiety helps, but too much or disordered anxiety becomes crippling.
Exactly. That very mechanism becomes excessive. It fuels these maladaptive cognitive patterns, the overthinking, the constant worry, jumping to worst case scenarios.
Catastrophizing.
That's the term, yeah. And avoidance behaviors too. Avoiding anything that might trigger the feeling.
And specific disorders fall under this.
Right. Things like generalized anxiety disorder or GAD with that persistent, excessive worry about everything. Or panic disorder, those sudden, intense episodes.
The ones that can feel like a heart attack.
Precisely. Terrifying physical symptoms and specific phobias too, of course. Intense fear of a particular thing or situation.
Okay, so drawing that distinction is key. Stress from identifiable demands, anxiety as apprehension about future or uncertain threats.
And understanding how they connect is maybe even more crucial.
What's the connection then?
Well, here's a fascinating and honestly pretty alarming finding for the research. Chronic stress can literally pave the way for anxiety disorders.
How does that work?
It seems to happen through a few mechanisms. Prolonged stress leads to hormonal dysregulation. Things sustain high levels of cortisol, the stress hormone.
Okay, and what does that do?
That directly amps up activity in the amygdala.
The brain's fear center.
A brain's fear center, exactly. But get this, it's even more direct. Chronic stress can lead to actual neurological remodeling.
Yeah.
It physically reshapes your brain.
It changes the brain structure.
Yeah. Evidence suggests it can reduce the volume or function of the prefrontal cortex, the part involved in emotional regulation and decision-making.
So, less control.
Less top-down control. And simultaneously, it can cause the amygdala to grow larger and become more sensitive, what's called hypertrophy.
Wow. So it literally makes your brain more wired for fear and anxiety.
In essence, yes,
Really?
more susceptible. It also impacts key neurotransmitters like reducing GABA, which is the brain's main calming agent.
The brain's chill pill, you called it.
Right. And all this contributes to those cognitive biases we talk about: catastrophizing, avoidance, which then feedback and amplify the anxiety. It becomes a cycle.
And things like genetics or early life trauma can make someone more vulnerable to this whole process.
Absolutely. They can create a sort of foundational vulnerability.
Okay, so beyond the brain fog stress can cause, what really defines the thinking in anxiety disorders?
It's a distinct set of cognitive patterns. Persistent worry that's way out of proportion, constantly overthinking worst-case outcomes, perceiving threat in situations that are actually benign.
And those intense physical symptoms, too.
Yes, sometimes mimicking serious medical conditions like a heart attack, the chest pain, dizziness, shortness of breath. It feels incredibly real and dangerous.
So what can people do? We know the basics: exercise, sleep, diet, social support.
And those are fundamental pillars, absolutely. Critical for general well-being and resilience against both stress and anxiety. Foundational.
Duh.
But this deep dive really highlights that when anxiety becomes persistent, severe, or really starts impacting your daily life, professional help is often essential. Things like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, are very effective.
Because it targets those specific thought patterns and behaviors.
Precisely. It helps rewire those maladaptive loops.
So wrapping this up, knowing the difference between stress as a reaction and anxiety as anticipation, and especially understanding how chronic stress can physically prime the brain for anxiety, that's powerful.
Really is. It empowers you to assess your own experiences more accurately and seek the right kind of support when needed.
So for everyone listening, thinking about all this, what stands out to you as the most important distinction we've covered? And maybe more practically, what small, consistent step could you take, starting today, to support your brain's resilience against both everyday stress and potentially overwhelming anxiety? It's something to think about.